Hi everyone, welcome back to 12A's The Best NA. This is the first video in my new series, Heritage Railways of Victoria, where we will take a detailed look at Victoria's many heritage railways. If you like this series or have any suggestions, please let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe so people see my channel. And let's get into the first video in this new series. All footage in this video is from my good friend Steam in the Hills unless otherwise specified. In this episode, we will look at the Mornington Railway. The Mornington Railway is a humble heritage railway running on a 6 kilometers line between Morayduck and Mornington. It has a classic Victorian railways look and operates mostly their K-class locomotive K163, but also owns 3 diesel locomotives. First off, let's start with looking at the history of the line before it became a heritage railway. The line to Mornington was opened in September 1889. After being extended from the former terminus at Baxter. Upon opening, the line had 2 stations, the terminus at Mornington and an intermediate station at Morayduck. Between 1928 and 1939, RMSP Rail Motor Stopping Place 16 operated at the level crossing across Nepean Highway, but this closed sometime in the late 30s. Mornington Racecourse Station was opened about halfway between RMSP 16 and Morayduck in 1936. It was for use by special trains only. In 1969, the station was opened for general passenger use and was renamed to Tanti Park. RMSP 16 was reopened in 1966 and stayed open until the line closed. The passenger service was discontinued during World War II, being reinstated between Frankston and Mornington in September 1966. There were a number of proposals to end the passenger service in the late 1970s. In 1978, people protested against repairs along the line, and a replacement bus service was established. The diesel-electric rail motor used on the line was replaced with a Walker rail motor RM22 in November 1978. On the 10th of December 1978, RM22 left Mornington at 7:20 p.m. and returned to Melbourne. However, the Transport Minister acceded to local demand, and a rail service, using RM55, was reinstated on the 9th of April 1979, running the passenger service for more than 2 years. On the 29th of February 1979, a special race train was introduced, hauled by T388. That was to be the last special train allowed to operate along the line by VicRail. 300 protesters prevented the train from departing, forcing it to remain in Mornington until the following afternoon. After the Loney Report in 1981, VicRail prepared to abandon many passenger services and close many stations, including the Mornington line. The last summer Sunday service to Mornington ran on the 19th of April 1981. On the 16th of March, the Association of Railway Enthusiasts ran a steam tour to Mornington and Stony Point, hauled by K190, which was the last steam-hauled train to travel to the original Mornington Railway Station terminus. On the 20th of May, RM55 ran the last rail service to Mornington, bringing an end to rail operations on the Mornington Peninsula. The rest of the line lay idle until 1984, when the Mornington Railway Preservation Society was formed, with the long-term ambition of restoring a tourist railway service along the line. They restored a Victorian Railways K-class steam locomotive and, in 1991, leased the line between Baxter and Nepean Highway. In 1997, their rolling stock was transferred to the current base at Morayduck, with tourist trains operating along the line between Morayduck and Mornington. The line still runs between Morayduck and Mornington to this day, operating every Sunday, with departures at 10:30 a.m., 12 p.m., and 1:45 p.m. from Morayduck. The line has an intermediate station at Tanti Park. The current Mornington station is not on the original site, as the site of the original Mornington station is now occupied by a shopping center. T411 is a 3rd Series T-class entering service in November 1968. It operated on regular general trains until 1992, when it was withdrawn from service. The Mornington Railway bought the locomotive and has operated it on regular Sunday services and special trains on the railway ever since. T411 is painted in the VR blue and gold livery, which was classic on all of the diesels. T334 is a flat-top T-class painted in VR blue and gold. It entered service in 1956 and ran with the VR and V-line until the 1980s, when it was withdrawn from service. The Mornington Railway bought the locomotive and used it for occasional tourist trains and other odd jobs. 334 went out on the main line with Steam Rail Victoria in their quadruple T-class members train in 2023. Otherwise, it has had an uneventful life. K163 is a Victorian Railways K-class locomotive built in the World War II batch in the early 1940s. It, like the other K-classes, ran goods and passenger trains along the VR's various branch lines. It was plinted at Frankston, and the Mornington Railway Society decided to restore the locomotive to operational condition. This was mostly done while the locomotive was still on its track at Frankston, and the boiler was first steamed while the locomotive was still sitting on its track at Frankston. It was brought back to Mornington to run steam-hauled tourist trains on the line. It was also repainted into various shades of green. At first it was a bright fluorescent green, but now it has been repainted into dark green. It ran tourist trains on every Sunday until 2010, when it was overhauled and its boiler was swapped with K191's boiler. It ran again throughout the 2010s, and by 2020, it was due for overhaul again, so it was trucked to the Newport workshops for major overhaul by Steam Rail. In 2022, its overhaul was completed, and it again began hauling Sunday trains on the Mornington Railway, a job it is performing to this day. Now, chill out. I didn't forget about the W class. Y241 is a member of the VR's diesel hydraulic W class shunters. It was built in 1959 and was used as a yard pilot at many stations throughout its working life. Crews purely hated the W-class engines as they were slow, unreliable, and stuffy. It is under the ownership of the Mornington Railway and now has an upgraded engine. The locomotive is rarely used on the railway except sometimes on works trains. A lot of people don't know this loco exists as it spends most of its time up hidden in the back of the shed. Mornington is the railway's hub. All maintenance facilities, locomotives, offices, everything are here. There are many sidings where rolling stock is stored and a long station platform with a ticket booth to get tickets. There is also a signal box here. A very cool feature here is a footbridge spanning across the end of the runaround loop in some of the sidings, allowing for a view into the sheds as well as an aerial view of the whole station. Out of Mornington, we pass over the crossing at Willara Driver and work our way up the gradual uphill grade. We roll into Tanty and stop here briefly. No one gets on or off, and the guard's whistle alerts us that the train is leaving. We roll over some farm crossings before rounding the bend into the new Mornington station. Here is a small shack, a runaround loop, a sign, and not much else. It is great for viewing the loco run around as it hooks onto the right end of the train for the return trip. On the return, we shut the farm crossing gates before we roll our way back along the line. We again have a quick stop at Tanty, and we are soon back at Mornington. We have passed through some dense bushland as well as some suburban-like housing. The loco might run around if there are more trips to do or go in stable for the end of the day. Another thing I need to talk about is the extension of the line to Baxter, but I'll do another video covering that another time. Anyway, that was the Mornington Railway, a charming little heritage railway running along the peninsula. I highly recommend a visit. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please leave a comment below about whether you like my new series. Like, subscribe, and remember, 12A's the best NA. Bye.